Welcome back to Reality Lives with the Ives. I'm Katie.
And I'm Will.
And we are back at it again, recapping the end of a pretty epic season, Love is Blind Season 6. We're going to discuss episodes 10, 11, 12, 12 being the finale, and there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, some could say it's been quite the roller coaster of love.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, one could say that. So let's just jump right in because, again, lot to discuss. It almost seems kind of irrelevant to even touch on episodes 10 and 11 at this point. But, I mean, we'll breeze through it because there is some goodness in there. And
There's some
things that...
There's some stuff, yeah.
Some things that help, kind of lead into the wedding days, into people's decisions and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to show some love to some of those episodes. There's, some trash here or there, but for the most part, there's still some juice. They might be not as big of fruits, but I assure you, as you already know, because if you're watching this, you watch the show.
Some juice that might be not as big as fruits. Like what?
Yeah, it just means there's not as much juice to squeeze. There's still juice, It's like when you get those grapes,
well,
and there's those
but the wording
big grapes, and you're like,
yes.
And then you're going through the little basket, and there's those tiny little grapes, and you're like, well, there's still juice. But is it like,
Honestly, sometimes those little grapes are fire.
Well, it's because they're more sour.
Speaking of grapes, just one gripe we have with our local grocery store. We ordered groceries yesterday, and instead of giving us one order of green grapes, they gave us 2 orders of green grapes and left out the dishwasher pods that we ordered. So that was fun. Speaking of grapes.
But thankfully, I bought some this afternoon, and there's actually dishes going right now.
This is why I married him, guys. If we were in Love is Blind, and you told me something like that, I think I'd go all in.
Man, yeah. Love is Blind. We would crush on that. We've talked about before.
I think we would hit it off. I think we've said that before. Like, I hate to toot my own horn, but I think personality and banter-wise, I'd be the Jimmy. I think a lot of people would be interested in the old K-Dog.
Yeah.
You don't agree?
No, I do.
I was going to say, you've agreed before. Not saying you would get attention too.
You definitely would.
But I just have good banter, I think. And even more so, behind a wall with I'd be less nervous. It'd be good. It'd be interesting. But again, I think we would hit it off.
It'd be interesting because a lot of the compliments I get and speaking, it's when I'm with people, in front of people, I don't think just over the phone, I'm probably as...
You're a more in-person guy.
Yeah, it's hard to have charisma without visuals. But I think I can make it work. I figured it out.
And as usual, I'm like, let's get into it and breeze through, and we're on a tangent already. But it's what you get to do when it's your show.
Yeah, suck it. We'll do what we want. Suck it, Mom and Dad. This is our show.
Wow. Rude. Okay, so let's jump right in. Start of episode 10, we see Jeremy, that snake, talking with his mom briefly. Not too much new info there. As usual, he's a family disappointment. And the mom, rightfully so, kind of doesn't take his side, roasts him a little bit. She's like, wow, you're lucky that wasn't me because my ass would wait up for you all morning and be pissed. Not to say Laura is not pissed, rightfully so.
It was honestly one of my favorite moments of that episode because moms, parents, don't placate to your kids. All right, when your kids are acting a fool, tell them.
Yeah.
You're the one person that has the right to tell them whatever you want, shoot it straight. And if you don't, and they grow up to be conceited or have weird ideas about themselves or not love other people or yada, 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 etc., it's your fault. So, Jeremy's mom, nice job.
Queen.
Put him in his place. Remind him, you're an idiot. And if you did that to me, boy, woo.
Yeah. And again, I don't think Laura's like being easy on him, but she's just saying like, wow, I would kill you. And like you said, I mean, I like when parents hold their children accountable, especially because they're all adults here. And at the end of the day, your kid is an extension of you. And if our future kid did something like that, let alone did it on television for millions of people to see and judge, we'd be pissed. That would be really disappointing. And it's almost a little embarrassing because you're like, that's my kid acting a fool,
Yeah,
not respecting women.
I'd be past anger. I'd be
Yeah, disappointed.
disappointed.
And we all know there's nothing worse than when your parents aren't mad, they're disappointed. So, not ideal for Jerami, but he totally deserves it. She does mention though that it's a little sad and disappointing, like we said, because she could tell, excuse me, that when they talked earlier in the experiment, that she could see that he did love Laura and seemed really happy. So she seems kind of like confused, like what the hell happened, what went wrong, as we all are. I mean, Laura and Jerami seemed pretty good in the beginning of this experiment. They seemed okay on the honeymoon. I didn't necessarily think they were going to last forever. Cut to the first episode where I think I said that I thought they'd get married. Yikes. But I don't know. It's just a disappointing
it's gotta be tough
situation
as
all
a parent because you only see your kids in certain settings. I doubt that she's ever had visibility into this part of his life before, at least this intimately. And so she's sitting there being like, wow, this is my kid. My
That's how
kid's
he acts
the mess
on the
up. Like,
streets.
he's the one that's screwing up right now.
Yeah, it sucks.
Damn, it's my kid. You just look at him like, it's got to be a tough moment because you got to go, what did I do wrong?
Well,
and even if she didn't,
shows,
we don't know
like,
she did anything wrong, but you got to think that she's having that moment of like, wow, I did something wrong because it's my son acting a fool. So feel bad for her because she seems good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not much else to unpack there. Pretty standard conversation. We see Amy and Johnny briefly, excuse me, building some kind of IKEA-esque situation. Not much to unpack there. So moving along.
Except for the items of the box. Bad joke. Because they had to build something, so it came in a box, you gotta unpack it.
I was so confused. And don't know that it was worth it. Okay, moving on. Anyhoozle. So now we see Chelsea meet Jimmy's parents, his family, excuse me. I think there was a sister there. Super nice people, super sweet. It's like a very loving, cute family. It seems to go well, just kind of like when she met the friends. They're obviously asking the obvious questions. They're kind of hesitant about the experiment in general. It's their son. The mom, discloses that her and Jimmy's father have been together, I think, 43 years. Long time. So, it's a serious commitment. Hope they know what they're doing kind of thing. She at one point asks them if they've talked about, having kids and stuff like that. Our dog is literally mountain climbing.
Jade's trying to get up here, but it's just too big for her old body. Jade, don't, just stop. I will say, yeah, I was wondering the first few minutes into that conversation, I was like, is Jimmy's dad going to say anything? Because he was just sitting there being completely silent for,
yeah.
Okay. What is happening? See, our lovely viewers, this is why I don't let them up here. Katie thinks, oh, it'll be fine. It's so easy. It's great.
But yes, we see her ask about kids and if they've had those serious discussions. Chelsea, of course, is like, yeah, we had. We're on the same page, blah, blah, blah. Chelsea is somebody who's good in these kind of situations. She's good as like a friendly, meet the fam, meet the friends, fun time gal. But as we've seen behind closed doors, her insecurities really sneak up on her. But all goes well.
All the stuff that she's saying, she's just saying to herself. She's like, oh no, we're totally on the same page. We're totally this, we're totally that. It's really
she wants to believe that.
Yeah, she's not even saying it to her parents half as much. She's just saying it to herself.
Sure. And I want to, I don't want to just totally bash them as a couple all the time because we're only seeing a glimpse into the times they've had together. There's a reason, I'd like to think there's a reason that they're fighting for this thing and he says he loves her and all these things. Like they're probably having some good times, but they're choosing to show us the fights to kind of aid into the, story arc that they're having. Which
It's tough to know. Maybe.
I think there's some goodness there. We know how reality TV works, how the editing works. They're not just going to show us every happy time and then bam, they break up. There needs to be clues along the way. I'm sure some of these other couples are having little spats and stuff that we're not seeing as well. But yeah, meeting the fam goes well. Next up, we see Clay meeting AD's mom. Goes really well. AD's mom, chef's fucking kiss. I don't know what her line of work is, but she should be like a therapist because she is extremely wise. She is fierce, loving, protective of AD, her daughter. That's her everything, as she said. But you can tell she sees the good in Clay and sees their connection and, of course, trusts her daughter to do what's best. And Clay is right away kind of saying his fears and the things about his parents. And you can kind of tell that AD's already had conversations with their mom about things that have been going on because without him even saying the cheating stuff, because I don't even know if he brings it up, she kind of tells Clay, like, your parents' stuff and what they went through, that's for them to carry. That's their load. Don't take their shit into your future. That's not your responsibility. That's not your burden. Let it go. She can tell that he's like heavy carrying all this past trauma, honestly, and things that his dad has done. And she just like was really good, I think, at excuse me, I'm not good at articulating clearly, but she was really good at articulating things to him like, hey, this is a new relationship. You're your own man. Like, trust yourself and things are going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, AD is a strong woman and she's got
Absolutely.
a great head on her shoulders. You can see where she gets it from. Unfortunately, her father had passed and I'm sure if he hadn't, well, actually, I don't know. Her parents actually might have gotten divorced before he passed.
I forget. Yeah.
I think they might have. But regardless, her mom's great. Her mom really does. She has a really good
her husband
view
died,
of.
So I don't think they were divorced.
Well, she has a really good view of just the situation. Both the Love Is Blind situation and what he's going through and what he's kind of been through. And you're right. I mean, it's a pretty beautiful conversation because she does
flawless. Like
she does just give him the space to
amazing.
Try and let it go, right? I think so often we're all carrying this weight around and it almost takes somebody else coming to you and saying, hey, like, drop the backpack, like you don't need to carry that shit anymore. Like that's not on you. And it's not always going to work. One conversation doesn't always change people's lives, but
viewpoint.
I thought it was pretty great. And, you can tell great parenting right there, and it shows in the way AD is.
AD, like you said, is a class act, so we had to know that the strong woman who raised her was going to be a boss ass bitch. I mean, them together, what a time! I would love to go to drinks with them, queens. Moving on, because we really have to get to the juice here. We're being long-winded, but it's hard not to be because the show is just so good. You could dissect it forever.
Oh yeah.
But next we see Amy introducing Johnny to her dad, which we've kind of seen little like trailer sneak peeks and they're, little clips about this moment. And they were trying to throw us off the scent, as we, I think, called out and suspected. She was very adamant that her dad is very old school, traditional, doesn't like this experiment, and that he's really protective of her. That's his only daughter, I want to say. But honestly, it goes really well. Her dad is so sweet. This dude is an angel, man. I mean, we see it on the wedding day too. This guy is, he's a precious little angel. But he, has the normal father things to say, but he ultimately does give them his blessing. It was a cute moment.
Yeah, there was, you gotta laugh when Netflix is just, pinching pennies at trying to find something exciting to keep viewers going.
Because
and
they're so
they're trying so
Yeah.
hard to cut scenes in a way that's going to create some sort of drama, and there just wasn't any drama
No,
at
it
all.
was a cute
He liked
moment.
her. I mean, they liked each other a lot. There's no problems. Johnny was beloved. Johnny got the blessing. Johnny got everything he needed
Johnny
from the
cracked
conversation.
corn and he don't care.
Johnny cracked corn and he don't care.
You won't wear a condom though. For like,
Yeah,
I think they got past that. I think
don't-
she actually mentioned that she would go on birth control.
Yeah, but I just there's
which
a
I
lot
don't
that doesn't
love
make sense. I
that
don't
she
know.
had to
There's
give in.
of that relationship,
Who
that's the
cares?
only
I don't even want to give
weird
in.
suitcase that doesn't make sense. Then I don't even care about
Again, they held
unpacking.
on and edited ooh, and clipped certain things to just make that seem a lot bigger than it probably was. But they moved past it. Whatever. So now we're back at it again in hell with Chelsea and Jimmy once again shockingly fighting.
Weird. It's so
Yeah, it's so
weird
strange
that
how
we saw
that
them
keeps
fighting again
happening
because it
because they're
just
so
never
solid.
happens. I
Yeah.
don't get it. I don't know. It's weird.
We were shocked, not. But yes, Chelsea is fuming that he went out for, I want to say he said an hour and a half ish to have a couple drinks for a friend's birthday. He even says that he invited her. And of course, she's like, no, you didn't. You didn't want me to come, blah, blah, blah. She's just that kind of person, not even a man or woman thing, who just wants to fight. She craves like chaos. Like she's, unfortunately, I think it's a mental health confidence thing, like we've said in the past. She's maybe so uncomfortable with being comfortable and like smooth sailing and like that kind of almost boredom that comes with like when things are just good and there isn't these explosive firework outbursts. Like she is clearly craving drama because she's self-sabotaging every 5 seconds.
I don't I don't know if anybody, because most of the time if you're craving drama, I don't think you're really craving it in the way that she's getting
I
it.
don't know. She
I feel
doesn't
like what she's
know she
doing,
is, but she is.
self-sabotaging for sure, but I think she's almost looking for problems because she doesn't want the reality of it's her or it's not real or whatever have you. Like she's trying to, it's almost like a way of protecting herself, it feels like, from the future. Our dog is just getting caught
She
up in
just
the
like
wires over there.
purposely just like tangled herself in a wire and then was like, whoa.
That's
Like,
string, Jade. You don't eat that.
just ignore her.
But she is. I mean, I think it's almost like a weird traumatic coping mechanism where she's scared about what could happen, and so she'd rather just create that fight now. And
Yeah.
what it could also be, which we don't get from seeing her family, but she could also have just grown up with seeing sort of that love language
That's
of
true. Very true.
fighting, where she feels like if there's not like if things are too easy, if things are too calm, then there's not maybe sort of a connection or a passion, or
She's
maybe
like,
she's
this is
just
love. We're like fighting because we're so passionate, you
yeah,
know.
it's
Yeah.
difficult to diagnos from what we're seeing, but you can tell that
She's
there's a
human.
reason
It
she's
happens.
doing this,
But yeah.
right? And it's like most of us, we're trying to avoid pain in life. So she's almost creating pain in the present to avoid it in the future. It's a weird thing, but outside of just the therapist point of view, God, she is terrible to
It's
deal with. I
insufferable.
mean,
Jimmy,
I
man,
can't
what are you
believe it.
doing?
The things that she says. When we were in the pods, you said that you don't like to drink. Does that mean he's also a hermit? That he's not allowed to go out and spend an
Yeah, he was
hour
like,
and a
I
half
like an
with his friends?
occasional cocktail.
Like,
And she's like, well,
it's
I don't know if that's who
mind
I want to be
blowing.
with.
Are you guys monks? No, you were literally drinking
Yeah.
with your friends at your house.
It
Like,
was
do
a
your
birthday.
friends
Yeah.
hate you because you literally never go out? Do you just text them every Friday and Saturday and be like, yeah, I'm good on spending time with you and making memories. I'm just gonna hang out at home. Like you don't have friends that way. So how does she have friends if she's not
Yeah.
going out? And yet Jimmy
She
goes
lives
out
with her
for
friend.
an hour and a
Yeah.
half, and yeah, I mean maybe that's it. Maybe she just is
She's
like,
insecure. It all stems from that. If she's not there, she's not able to know what he's doing and what's happening. And just
Jade is in
our
the
dog
laundry
is
room.
like literally being so naughty because she's not getting attention right now. But it's giving Chelsea. But
Toodaloo.
yeah, literally giving Chelsea. But yes, they spiral out of control as per usual. She's getting very emotional. And we kind of hit a bomb where she's, talking about how she's not super comfortable actually with all the female friendships he has, excuse me. And and we finally see the famous "you fucked her," "you told," or "I know you fucked her" scene that they've been teasing in all these trailers as well. And of course, they wanted us to think that she's referring to Jessica, I assume, which we knew that was not going to be the case. It's just too obvious. And Jessica ain't fucking with him that way, I don't think. Um we find out not on his terms, that Jimmy has actually had sexual relations with one of the women that he introduced Chelsea to when he introduced her to two of his best friends. And I called it. I said, I bet he's hooked up with one of them.
You did. You called it.
And again, she's allowed to be a little ticked off about that. If I found out that you introduced me out of all the people in your life you're going to introduce me to, your two best friends, they're girls, fine. And then after the fact, I find out you fucked one of them and it happens to be one that you like text and hang out with all the time. It's not, you're not going to like that. That's normal. But like, it was, the moral of the story is he told her that off camera. And some people can argue they're on a show, it's a reality show, they're airing it all out. There's none of this off camera bullshit. Fuck that. It's not that it was rude to him. It's rude and mean, quite frankly, to the other girl that's involved. She didn't sign up for all of her shit to be aired out for millions of people to judge her on. You know, Jimmy's like, if she ever wants to date people in the future, now they know this about her. Like, I agree with that. You don't?
No.
That's wrong. She was really wrong for that.
I think.
And it betrayed his trust.
I mean, I think two things. I think one, the Jimmy Chelsea relationship is the most convoluted of them all because Chelsea is constantly in the wrong and then constantly in the right. Because the reality is, if you were in that situation, I know you very well, you would be worse than she was. If you were like, you were hanging out with somebody that you slept with before, you would
if I found that out,
lose it.
I'd be fucking
You would
pissed.
lose it.
Yeah,
and on top of that, what makes it much worse is that not only did he have physical intimacy with this woman,
with that woman,
he's still got emotional intimacy in the fact that they're friends and they talk.
That's inappropriate.
Like, I'm friends with all of your female friends, but I literally don't text any of them ever.
And
nor
you
have
haven't hooked
I.
up with them.
Yeah, exactly. So there's
two. I get what you're saying.
Things, but that's the thing is, it's like he's got an emotional relationship with a girl that he's also slept with before.
Yeah, when you get engaged,
you
gotta stop texting
while
this
he has a
bitch,
fiance
every day.
So she's justified to lose it over that. So that's what's so funny about Chelsea. She's constantly losing over things that she deserves to lose it over, and then also things that she absolutely does not deserve to. So Jimmy's just like, he's got one foot in like the angel camp and one foot in the devil camp, and Chelsea's just like constantly freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, moral of this scene is, of course, they fight, explode, and then she's like, but I love you, love me, and they do ultimately. You okay?
I'm dying.
They do ultimately make up. Now we're at the lake.
Mm.
And again, we are being too long-winded about all of this shit, and we need to keep it moving.
Well, it's not like there's that many weddings to talk about.
But there's still things to talk about within the things.
So the lake.
Always hits the fan at the lake. But yes, there's the reunion at the lake. We're seeing some of the singles. We're seeing the people that were runners up and almost got engaged in this process. We see Jeremy briefly talking to the guys. I believe it was him, Jimmy, Johnny, Triple J. And he's kind of venting to them about his frustrations with the Laura, Sarah, Ann of it all. And after that conversation ends, Jimmy and Johnny both are kind of like, yeah, we don't want to get involved in any of that dude shit. And that's
I love that
telling.
No one likes Jeremy.
Yeah, like obviously they just don't like him, don't want to get their hands dirty or get involved in any way because they probably don't want their new significant others to get annoyed with them or anything like that as well. But also, like, back in the pods, we can remember that he was pretty fucking annoying. He was poking Michael Matthew, whatever his name is, jumping on him, sitting in his lap. Like, he's that dude that just likes to annoy people. We've discussed that before.
100%.
You could tell they just, like, don't fuck with him. And he's kind of the outsider of that group. Rightfully so. Fuck that dude. We also see Trevor comes in. We see Jessica comes in.
He cut his mullet,
Ann.
Which breaks my heart as a man with a mini mullet.
Yeah. No longer a mullet guy. That was an interesting move because he knew that Chelsea would have liked that. But I think it was almost like a fuck you to Chelsea. Like, you're not going to get to see this mullet.
It is a funny subliminal fuck you, which he's an interesting character.
Well, he's a fraud because he had a girlfriend going in the show.
Yeah, he really likes to
Allegedly.
he likes to poke the bear.
Him and Drami are probably besties. But yeah, I mean, we see him and Chelsea talk. She kind of says, like, up until the final day, you guys were neck and neck. It was really hard for me. I still have love for you, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really comes of it. Jimmy walks up, kisses her on the cheek, but he also hugs Trevor and is being respectable. We see Jessica come in. She, of course, talks with Jimmy down by the fire pit or something like that. It was a pretty respectable conversation for the most part. I mean, obviously, it was a conversation that we all knew they were going to have. Chelsea can't really get mad at that. She didn't seem to get that mad. But, Jessica's throwing in little zingers as she does, like, ooh, not the church, like, side hug. But she's also vulnerable. She was like, I have been so nervous about this. I even thought about like what I would say first and how I would approach
she claims she practiced her handshake that she's going to give Jimmy.
That's sweet. That's honest. But they kind of talk it out. They kind of in the trailer and previews made that seem like it was going to be some big juicy thing. It was a pretty respectable, normal, like, hey, we care about each other. It just wasn't meant to be kind of vibe.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, I don't think she's the most attractive person on the inside, nor do I think she's quite as attractive as everybody else thinks too. But
you're wrong for that.
Okay. I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But she does at least admit to her stupid comment about how he'll need an EpiPen when he sees her and all that stuff. Like,
I would not have regrets.
Well, that's because you could say it. But yeah, I mean, it was a solid conversation. I mean, a lot of these convos are very similar, where it's like, I loved you. It was a tough choice, but ultimately I made the right choice. And now where we are, you're always sitting in these conversations, sort of waiting for it to go another way down the road where you're like, all right, are they going to say, maybe I did this, maybe I should have done that.
Experiment now, so
and you're waiting and you're waiting. And then it just goes like, all right, well, you're here now. I'm here now. Thanks. Shake hand, walk away.
Yeah.
So it was ultimately not as eventful as I expected, but it was good. I mean, I feel like Jimmy handled it well.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. We see AD chat with Sarah Ann. AD was, kind of being protective.
Dizzle, my girl.
Always in the right in my eyes. Kind of just asking Sarah, like, why she thought it was appropriate to message somebody who was engaged, and just said what everybody was thinking, essentially. And Sarah Ann stood her ground, wasn't really apologizing, wasn't going to say what she did was wrong. She was like, hey, I'm in this too. My feelings are invested just as much as you guys. Like, I had unresolved things. I wanted closure. I think my message was respectful. Yada, yada. I mean, AD, in my opinion, handled that really gracefully, kind of put her in her place. But Sarah Ann also doesn't seem like a girl who's being put in her place. She doesn't give a shit.
I mean, in the moment, she wants to protect herself and not give a shit. But the moment that she walks away and is talking to Jeremy or Drami, she doesn't
get to be Jeremy anymore.
Falling apart about it, Like, she tries to put on a brave face, but AD rocks her, and AD truly puts her in her place. And AD does it in the way where she doesn't really ever raise her voice or her tone. She's kind of
very
frames things and phrases things with a certain, what you did type of attitude throughout. And it's a funny conversation. I enjoyed it. And then I'm not going to lie, I don't like seeing people feel bad, but there was a part of me that really enjoyed when she went to the dock with Jeremy, and then she just started like breaking down, like, everyone's being mean to me. I don't get it. It's not fair. And it's like, dude, you want to play the game of homewrecker?
Yeah, dude. I mean, lay it.
Eat it,
100%. She strikes me as someone who cares about how the world's going to perceive her, cares about her image. She acts like she doesn't. She does. Well, she's got a lot of Instagram followers before this started. She's a content creator for sure. So, I mean, she's already looking at AD like concerned, because you can tell AD is like a fan favorite. She's a real one. And she's like, wow, this girl's ripping me apart. Rightfully so. Roasting my ass. This is going to make me look bad. She's like, I see what's happening here. I'm being painted as the villain. Like, oh no. We see Drami and Laura obviously talk. it's pretty cold. Obviously, they're both done and over it. I mean, Laura seems like she wants closure, wants him to be like groveling and feeling bad, and he's just a douchebag. He's not. She literally asks like, "Hey, when can I come get my stuff?" Or let me know when a good time is to come get my stuff. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I already packed up all your stuff." And she's like, "You already packed up my shit?" And then she just essentially is like, "I wish you well. Go kick rocks with open toe shoes." Kind of cringy, but iconic. He deserves it. And then we see Sarah Ann, excuse me, reunite. And yeah, she's frustrated. She's like, these girls need to worry about their own relationships. Like, get off my dick. At the end of the day, I don't have any regrets. I'm not sorry, and he essentially is like, I agree. I'm not sorry. I regret not choosing you in the pods. It's clear I made a mistake. Let's go right off into the sunset on these jet skis, which was just final straw for me. That was so disrespectful. They just didn't give a fuck that everyone was watching. Laura's obviously like fresh and rawly wounded. Like, this dude should have left. If they wanted to keep hanging out, they should have left.
So what I was going to say quickly is you can tell from the fight, I've said this before, Jerami's got some issues. Jerami was able to cut it off so quickly. He's so cold. And Laura is cold because she's angry because she loved him.
She's
and
hurt.
He broke her heart. And he just doesn't really give a shit. It goes back to the whole, is Jerami a serial killer? We don't know. Maybe. Because he's got some somewhat scary personality defects that just keep popping up. So
someone on social media compared him to Joe from the show You on Netflix, which you have not watched, but
I've watched enough.
Totally agree with that call.
I've watched enough. Yeah. Jerami, killer.
All right. So we move on to some like little dates with the remaining couples. Boring.
They're
Chelsea
fine.
and Jimmy carve ice. Clay and AD paint shoes.
I want to paint shoes with you. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. We love sneakers.
We should do that. Yeah.
Date.
Sneaker heads.
Okay.
Sneaker heads.
We see the wedding dress and suit try on. Cute moments. Honestly, don't really want to spend too much time on it. Like, it was just cute. Not a fan of anybody's wedding dress. AD's was definitely the best. She looked fire, but none of them my cup of tea per se.
No.
Suits are basic, but always a cute scene with the family and the friends. The mom's getting emotional. Cute.
Well, I think there was only 2 couples trying on.
3.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
Chelsea
right.
and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Tried
okay.
on. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I will say, Love is Blind, like Brazil. I enjoy when they try on suits more because a lot of guys try some color on. They go like some whites or whatever. Yeah. There's more fun to it. They like customize the suits based on the personality. And in the US, all the guys are like, meh, whatever. It's fine.
So yeah, I want to say
there was that moment though with Clay and his friends where like him and his friends are just making comments that just further plant seeds of doubt in terms of like
the friends were like, oh, we can see how much you've grown. None of them have wedding rings on either.
Yeah, it's just Clay's just surrounded by a forest of seeds planted of doubt.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it all season, but I just wanted to believe in love. But moving on, we see some final dates. AD and Clay go to dinner. Nothing really there.
That's
cute,
nice.
Nice moment. Chelsea and Jimmy.
Ooh.
Of course they can't. I think this is the same part of the ice sculpture date. Maybe like a dinner portion. It might be a different date.
I mean, it's at night. It's not during the day.
Well, I think it was like the night of that ice shit. But yeah, they have like some charcuterie moment. Actually, maybe it was a different day because her hair was down and then up. Yeah, different day. Final dates, whatever. They're talking. Of course, they get back into the fight they had the previous night about how he feels she's like broken his trust and all this shit. And they kind of get frustrated, and he's really frustrated at the end of the episode and leaves us on a bit of a cliffhanger where he's asking, like, do you even want to get married? And they leave us on that cliffhanger, almost trying to make us think like Chelsea's going to come back in the next episode with no. But finale episode, we pick up with her, in fact, of course, saying she loves him so much. Of course she wants to get married. And he acts happy to that, reacts happily and says like, oh, I have no doubt that you're the one for me. And then drops but I can't go to the altar with you.
Dun.
And we're all not shocked because, like, about fucking time, bro. You had an out in your last fight with all that shit that went down in your apartment. But she does seem pretty shocked and blindsided. And I can get why, not in the grand scheme of everything, because obviously they should not be together. But in that conversation, he's like, "Do you even want to marry me?" And then says like all these nice things to her, and then is like, "Well, I can't marry you." So like
Yeah.
that was, a high and a low, kind of
It's
a
it's
fuckery
par for the
conversation.
course. Their relationship is just so all over the place because
Yeah.
Jimmy seems so great, and at times he is, but he also just has moments of like not being great. And that's one of them where he's like, let me set this gal up for some failure real quick. And he's so kind of nonchalant at
I don't know if
times
he
that he's like,
means to. Yeah.
but he's not dumb. He like knows what he's doing. He's like, oh, do you think we should get married? Like, let me hear you say it first.
Maybe he was hoping she was going to be like, honestly, no, and that would be his out.
But still, that's
He's like,
weak.
let her
It's
do
weak
it
for
first,
him
let
to,
it to
yeah,
her.
it's
No,
weak.
it's weak, but I get that idea. Yeah.
But
Ultimately,
nonetheless, what we all saw come in from very far away, the most toxic relationship
can't even make it to the altar.
finally
Damn it.
ended.
Yeah, I mean, he essentially
And
just
then
says,
there were two.
yeah, I mean, he essentially just says, I can't trust you after all that. And she storms off crying, goes down by what looks like an ice rink or something, cries, and that's the last we see of
And then
them.
Jimmy
It'll
goes out for
be
a cocktail with the girl he used to
Jimmy
sleep with.
crack corn and he don't care. So, and then yeah, hits up his best friend that he fucked for a nightcap and a booty call. Gonna be interested to see what happens at the reunion.
Oh my god, I
Watch your
can't
wine.
wait.
Watch your wine. It's a year later. I want to say they filmed it probably really recently. So I assume they're like on friendly, okay terms. But
I'd assume
interested to
not.
see.
No
There's
chance
some
to.
rumors that apparently people caught a glimpse of him in some of her pictures and stories and think they're together, like dating. Which I don't know if that I think that they're homies. I do. I think it's like it's okay by now, but we'll see what happens.
So
Bachelor
then,
bachelorette party time. Only two couples remain.
boring.
It's pretty boring. The girls seem like they are turning up way more than the men. The
AD
girls are at like a little makeshift
out
nightclub.
there getting it.
Getting it. The girl can work. Like we didn't see that coming. She got body yaddy yaddy, as the kids say. I mean, she's throwing that thing around like confetti. But yeah, and then the guys are literally at like a makeshift campground playing bags with like 5 people. Real weak.
It looked weak.
And they're like pretending they're having the best time. It was
It's
weak.
like it looked like a Thursday night in college.
Looked like a Tuesday, if you ask me. But yeah, week. So now we go. It's wedding day. AD and Clay are up first. Vibes are high. In the bridal suite, the girls are having really cute moments. Her mom comes in, honestly, dressed like a fucking pimp. She's got like the slanted hat, the pinstripe jacket. She looked good, but it was funny. And she
Pimp
says,
Mac
like,
Mama.
yeah, get it. She says, like, guess who I just met? Clay's mom. And it was like an emotional, really sweet moment there where she's like, we hit it off. If I would pick someone to be your mother-in-law, it would be a woman just like her. And so it's all like good signs. You're like, wow, these families are going to mesh so well. It's so cute. But, they're kind of bringing us up to shatter our hearts. All throughout the season, it's like, pretty sure he's going to say no, but I was a believer at the end. I thought he might say yes. We see a conversation with his dad finally showing his face. We've heard not great things about him, obviously, so it was interesting to finally see him. I mean, you can see that he's this suave, bubbly, cool guy. They have almost more of a friendship than like a father-son dynamic, which is always kind of risky. I mean, you want to be friends with your kids, but like you should be a parent first. Not that I'm a parent, no shade, but like that dynamic is interesting. I mean, you can see how much he respects his dad's opinion, looks up to him. His dad is taking this 5 minutes of fame to boast about his own personal accolades while talking about Clay's as well. But it was just interesting. Kind of wonder in that moment if he changed his mind. I think he was back and forth regardless, but it was interesting.
Ooh, laundry. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because to a certain degree, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're always just looking for that approval. You're
Yeah.
always just looking for that relationship. You're always just looking. Parents just hold such an intense place in a lot of people's hearts. And so you can tell that Clay is just still sitting there, just like hold on to every word his dad's saying, still talking about the stuff. I mean, their whole conversation is about their relationship, and he's making his dad, you look so good, you look so good, you look better than I do. So it's very interesting, but you can tell his dad still has a huge pull on Clay.
For sure. I mean, yeah, that was definitely obvious. So we see them go down the aisle. They both say pretty sweet, nice vows. Definitely seems like he was winging his in the moment. I'm not sure if she was doing the same, but no one was reading off anything. And that doesn't mean you didn't memorize something, but he definitely was just like saying shit on the spot. But it was still like nice things to say. Of course, AD is asked first because you have to embarrass the woman. And she says yes, of course she'll marry him. And Clay,
Play all day.
essentially says no, it would not be responsible to say I can marry you right now. But he does allude to like wanting to make it work and not wanting it to be the end. And I think AD was genuinely blindsided. She was shocked. She
100%. Of course she's blindsided.
shocked.
She couldn't believe it.
She didn't want to believe it.
She was ready to build her life with this man.
What is worse than having to walk back down the aisle awkwardly crying like that? No woman, no person should have to go through that. He should have been a man, broke it off before this. I'm sorry. And I know the producers probably like make them get to the altar if they really can, but that he's wrong for that. That was terrible. When you respect and love someone like he claims to, you don't put them through that shit in front of all your family and friends. Ugh. She's back in the bridal suite. Of course, she's such a confident, strong badass, but you can't help but in those moments, obviously, not be so confident. She's like, why aren't I ever enough? I put so much into these relationships. Why isn't somebody doing the same for me? Like, she's blaming herself in that moment. And of course, when she shakes herself off, she's going to know it was not her and it's nothing she could have done. It wasn't her fault. But in that moment, you can't help but be like, why aren't I good enough? Why won't he love me? And he comes back into the bridal suite and says, I don't want you to run away from me. I don't want to leave you. Like, I want to go to therapy. I want to put in the work. But she seems like she's pretty done.
Yeah, I think she needs to be done because the problem that Clay has is a problem that a lot of people have. And it's not just related to, getting married, but I think most of the time it is. But certain people are just afraid to take that step into the unknown and trust it.
Yeah.
And for him, he's just saying it'd be irresponsible for me to do this because he feels like he doesn't have enough data, doesn't have enough info, it's not 100% for sure.
Finances, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you're not in love with her, which he claims to say, and then later to her, he's saying how he still wants to try and make it work. And so you can tell his problem is, and this is, I think, a lot of people's problems where it's like, I need to know everything before I can make the decision. To a certain point, you just got to say, I trust myself. I trust this person. I trust the universe. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to jump, and I think it's going to work out. And you know what? He wasn't able to do that. And does it make him a bad guy?
No, I mean it's this
not entirely,
crazy. But he led her to that moment.
It's a personality defect that he has because of what happened to his parents, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean Clay, unfortunately, he's such a catch. He has so many great things going for him, in my opinion. But he's gonna be that guy that never settles down. Is always looking for what's missing, and he's never going to feel ready, quote unquote, to do something like that. And it's just, I think he's going to look back someday with regrets. He lost a real one. She was really positive and good for him, I think. And as much as I'm like, oh, I wish they could still be together, she deserves somebody who's amazing for her as well. And he's obviously not it. And she's going to have no problem finding someone who's going to ride hard for her and fight for her. So I think she's going to be just fine. It's going to be interesting again in the reunion to see if they do try dating after, if she does give him a chance. I don't think they will, but you never know. What was really interesting is we see a convo with Clay's parents, who are obviously divorced. We know that the dad's cheated on her a bunch. And she essentially has a real honest conversation with him. Clearly they're on like civil terms, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
And she essentially is like, I know my son. I know he wants marriage. I know he wants a family someday. He wants this. And unfortunately, because of things that we wink, wink, you did in front of him and put him through, he's affected by that. He's scarred by things that he went through as a kid. And it's like your fault, bro.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad that she said that. And she did it in a very respectful way. She's like, I found out things on the show that you never told me, that you should have told me.
God,
and we're
sad.
divorced now. So I'm not going to sit here and yell at you about it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make you feel bad because you weren't a good partner to me. And ultimately, you weren't as good of a dad as you could have been. And this thing that just happened for the entire world to see, this girl's heart that was broken, this son of ours that
stems from you
failing in terms of understanding what his future maybe should or shouldn't look like, it's your fault. And I just need you to know that because you probably think you're fucking top dog out of here.
He's like dad of the year.
Yeah.
They have such a close relationship. Yeah.
And you can sleep with as many women as you want, but it's never going to fill the hole that is who you're supposed to be, which is a father, right? Like at a certain point in time, you have a child, you have a family. It's no longer about how cool you are, how much cool stuff you can do, how good you look. No, it's about who are you as a parent and what do you do for those people that you're responsible for. And he failed. At
the end of the day, at the end of your life, if we're going to get that deep, the shit you did really doesn't matter that much. What's going to matter is who you have around you in those moments. And just like his dad, I think Clay, unfortunately, is going to be pretty lonely as he gets older. And I wouldn't say his dad would even consider himself lonely. He's probably meeting women quite often and having a grand old time. And low key, he's probably like, yeah, I don't want my son to get married. That's my number one wingman, fuck that. And it's just, I just think Clay's going to have some regrets if he does do therapy and takes a good look at his life in the future here.
100%.
But ends on a sad note. Really disappointed. I think ultimately AD deserves better, but part of me was like, I hope they can make this work.
I hope the opposite.
No, I'm saying before he said no. I was hoping he was going to say
now
yes.
I hope.
No, AD deserves better. Yeah, they shouldn't be together.
AD's going to find it.
AD all day, baby.
Now, let's go into the only couple left. Literally, we have gone through so many couples, and there's only one couple left.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here. Really cute morning when they're all getting ready. We finally meet Johnny's parents. His mom is super young and cute. She looks just like the daughters, Johnny's sisters. The dad is a quirky little ham. And I do love that one of his sisters was like in the bridal suite getting ready with Amy. And you could tell she's already met Amy's parents, the way they were all talking, just about like how their families are now families with each other. That was really sweet. I feel like our families are pretty close. And when you get married, it doesn't mean like my sister is related to your parents, but they have like a good relationship. And it seems like Johnny's family and Amy's family are on that path. Amy's dad makes a really sweet speech and kind of says how he's excited to gain like a son and more daughters. And it was just really sweet vibes all around.
It's the ideal situation. I mean,
100%.
My parents love you. Your parents love me. I'm super close with your sister and your brother. And you're super close with my sister, and you're close with my brother.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like, excuse me. I'm saying like your parents have a relationship with my siblings when like they don't have to.
Oh yeah, no,
like
sure.
I'm saying her dad is essentially like being really cool with Johnny's sister. Like they're not going to be related or have to spend time together, but like they clearly have like some.
It just goes to show it's two
their families
really good,
are really
strong
merging.
Families.
Yeah, love that. So, of course, we get to the wedding. The best part of it all is we finally see Amy's brother, who she's mentioned early in the pods, that, if and when something unfortunately happens to her parents, she is going to be guardian for her brother. Her brother and her are a package deal. That is like her best friend, her everything.
My heart.
Him and Amy's father both walk her down the aisle. I think I probably cried. It was so fucking sweet.
Beautiful.
We see, when he gets down there, Johnny hugs the dad and the brother. Johnny's either brother-in-law or future brother-in-law officiated the wedding, which was cool. He did a good job. And not much to say here. It was sweet. Amy had pretty quick, sweet vows. Johnny, I don't know if they did you dirty and cut it out, my man.
They had to have just to fuck with him.
I don't know. But like why, though? Come on, let us have one nice moment. But yeah, she says like a short, sweet little vow. And all he says is, I can't wait. And we're like,
Can't wait for.
and then they ask if they're
okay.
saying yes. And to no one's surprise, ooh, they both say yes. They
I
do
remember
the damn thing.
calling
it was very
it
sweet.
Many episodes ago.
I think everyone called it.
No,
when-
you were like, I don't know about them.
I don't think
And I
that's
was
true.
like,
honestly,
rewind the
you're
tape.
probably. I think you're right.
I know I'm right.
Yeah.
But yes, so they got married. It was beautiful. It was amazing. They danced. It was the only wedding that actually happened out of all the people that came on the show. And
yeah, that's wild. Only one couple actually got married.
I think this is the only time I've seen in any episode of any Love is Blind series of any countries that only one couple got married.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, are we getting too popular that we're just attracting the wrong people to participate in the show?
Well, yeah, I mean,
know.
I've heard other people say like Netflix is trying to create this experiment to show that love is blind, and in fact they're doing the opposite. They're kind of proving love isn't blind.
Well, they're just getting the wrong. They're getting the wrong people, I think, to a certain degree. But
well, it's hard. You're never going to recreate the magic of the first season when people went on a new show not knowing if they were going to get,
yeah,
fame and Instagram followers. Now everyone knows it's a guarantee. Yeah.
But I will say, like, even still,
I think Johnny and Amy are solid, and it worked for them.
If you still manage to find one truly amazing, loving couple from this experiment, that's a success.
It's something, yeah. So, with that, we have the reunion next week. Cannot fucking wait.
Oh, man.
Again, it's a year later now. All this was last year. This is present day when they filmed the reunion. So it's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited to see how everything unfolds here. If any new connections are made, I really, really pray and hope that Johnny and Amy are going strong. Watch them be like fucking pregnant. That would be hilarious.
Oh, man. I would die.
Fingers crossed. But yeah. Really good season, despite it being a shit show and, like we said, not a lot of love in the end.
Plenty of enjoyment.
A lot of love in my heart for the show still.
Yeah. So thanks.
And we will recap the reunion. So stay tuned for that.
So hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did. Hopefully you enjoyed our breakdown of the season. We got one more episode left. So stay tuned.
And hey, if you like what you see here, go ahead and follow your girl on TikTok.
I must say,
the Katie Ives. Don't even know my handle. Katie Ives.
It's some pretty good content. If you like reality TV, if you do because you're watching this, then
you should
check it out. I mean, we both know she's the real talent of the show. So if you're like, hey, I love some content that didn't include this guy, there you go.
Like what everyone's praying for. But no. Good episode. Good season. We'll see you guys next time. Time to deal with these dogs for real.
Let's make some dinner. Take care, everybody. Appreciate you. Cheers.